to me, that concept of like, if I think this way, you must think that way was almost foreign. I did not like I couldn't comprehend it. It took me some time to really understand that we are all different and our thought process is different. So and the more I watch and observe, and the more I even watch shows, I see how people think differently. So there was a show that I was watching yesterday. So something happened, and anyways, so I kind of like thought, oh, okay, so she's probably thinking about it this way, and then she comes out and she says something. I'm like, oh my god, that like I would have never even thought that this kind of a thought is even possible for somebody to think, because it's so different, it's so foreign, and I've never had that thought. So in other words, that there are thoughts that people have out there that I simply could not even think of, or I can comprehend to a certain degree, but to another degree, it's like if a thought is really like shallow, and I'm like, oh, well, maybe you need to get a little bit deeper. And that's when you start to understand people. Um, yeah, so this is the kind of stuff that even like looking at my kids, they think that everyone is the same. I mean, we essentially are, but what makes us different is everything that's inside, right? So when my daughter Mila thinks one way and my son Ethan thinks another way, and they have a clash and they're not understanding that I'm thinking this way and I'm thinking this way, and then mommy, okay, guys, peace, not war. We don't do that. We don't like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then I have to get in the middle and be the referee, which is my least favorite job. And honestly, I don't know any moms that love being the referee.
I feel like that's the role that Mother Earth is playing right now for all of us. Like, we're all her children fighting, and she's like, children, there's enough for all of you. I have made enough food and water and shelter for all of you. So
Yeah.
even Mother Earth has to deal with her children fighting over thought, over opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is, we all, like as you said, we're all internally all similar and all different. So we all experience the same set of emotions. And the thoughts primarily do determine those emotions. Like, as you know, from the 7 levels of energy, it's all kind of within the same patterning of thoughts that create these emotions. Yet we're spending so much time in the head and in the thought and in the opinions.
Yeah.
And we forget about the heart, that we forget that someone else's heart is more important than being right, and having our opinion, having everyone submit to our opinion. And that can be, that's why when I first brought up conspiracy theories, part of it's because I want this world to be a safe place. Like, there are people doing the hard work, digging and digging, finding some disturbing stuff, like the rabbit holes that, I've gone down a little bit, like dipped my toe in, and then have been like, disturbing, retreat, abort. But there are people willing to go way deep into those rabbit holes to uncover the truth.
Yeah.
And as a society, we've been so stuck on our opinions that, and our limiting beliefs from the head, that it's so difficult to expand to let in that new information, because then it means we're going to have to feel a little bit more.
Yeah. And most people are not willing to do that.
Yeah.
The thought comes to mind of coachable and not coachable. Because most people say, oh, I'm coachable. But if you take that same, like this whole coachable, not coachable, to the conspiracy theories, so to speak, people are not coachable. People are not willing to listen, just listen and hear somebody else's opinion because they have their own opinion formed. And this is the law. That's it. So they're not coachable when it comes to that. Because coachable is not, it's not about you listening and you believing and saying, this is what it is, that's it, that's it, that's it. Right? It's about you hear something and you question it. How much of that makes sense to you?
Right. That's what we're all here for, to reflect these different aspects of society and reality, and to choose, allow our intuition to let it in and filter it out if it doesn't make sense, but if it resonates somewhere, to let it in.
And
And
usually it's in here, right? Because the intuition is in the heart. So when we hear something and our heart tells us, this makes sense. Don't let the head talk you out of it, but use the head to help you decipher, why does that make sense? What part of that makes sense, right? Working through it.
unite the knowledge with feeling.
Yeah.
And that's where wisdom comes from. Like when we unite some of this new information with how it feels, like try on how it feels, the intuition has a chance to say, this adds up, because the intuition and the third eye see the deeper meaning in everything. So if we see the deeper meaning, I'm like trying to talk around actually using examples of the conspiracies that I've been digging into.
Yeah, there's quite a few of them, right?
Yeah, that I've been going deep into. I won't bring it up, but
I've been doing the same thing. It's interesting how connected we are, because for the past like 2 weeks, I've been going pretty deep into learning certain different conspiracies, and it rattled me.
Yeah.
To a point where my biggest fear is that privacy, like the only privacy that we have left, really, the only privacy we have left. There's a show on Netflix called Connected. Scary as hell.
Fuck. Okay.
And it's so good, and it makes so much sense, and there's a lot to it. Like, I can pretty much guarantee you would love it. It talks about, that doesn't just talk about conspiracies, but being connected, how everything in this world, how everything is connected.
Oh, I would love that.
Yeah. So, and then there's so anyways, kind of like lost my train of thought now. Oh, the privacy, how in there, I'm not gonna go into detail, but anybody that wants to watch it, go ahead and watch it. I'd love to hear what stood out to you the most from the first episode and from the second, kind of like going down the episodes. But it made me really realize, because these are the thoughts that I had prior to watching it, and then I watched it and it kind of confirmed it for me, which was really scary, because as you know, I'm quite intuitive. So as I was sitting with myself, my intuition told me that, like, this kind of like wave of fear went right through me, like a wave. Yeah. And I thought, like, oh my God, like the only privacy we have, which right now seems like it might be taken away, it's our brain, our mind, our thoughts, our feelings, and our emotions for the most part, right? Because in images and pictures and videos, they can see the feelings and emotions, but they can't necessarily know all those thoughts. So if all of that is taken away, then we no longer have any privacy left.
A sense of self.
And that's scary, because we all want to have some privacy. Right? That's why there's some people that even go and live off the grid, not to have that.
That's my plan.
Yeah.
I want off.
Yeah. A lot of people do. I do as well, but it also comes down to the kids and the comforts that we're all used to and their lifestyle now, and for the lifestyle to dramatically change
But
would be a shock to them.
we could go either way. Like, I also believe I do hold space at the same time for the corrupt leaders to have heart opening expansions and then third eye expansions, because we do energy leadership. And when we've studied energy leadership to this extent, especially IPEC really loves corporate coaching. So we've learned a lot about corporate coaching. So ever since, I thought, well, there's no reason a level 2, a level 3 leader couldn't have a level 4 expansion, and then level 5, and then level 6. We're at level 6, we understand that we are all one, and that what's best for the greater good is best for each individual.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think all the time, okay, there's no reason, someone like Jeff Bezos, who's about to be the first trillionaire, there's no reason he couldn't, his level 2, like, that's hoarding. Like, that dude hoards a lot of energy with all that money. Like, he doesn't pay taxes on it, and so he's just hoarding energy. And it's got to get to a point, like, maybe it gets to a point where it's so excruciating, this desire for these external, this, and it's never enough, that he doesn't have this expansion into the heart, and even maybe the wave of coaching, who knows, maybe energy leadership as a modality becomes this big popular wave, and every corporate leader is doing it and is getting to levels 5 and 6. Who knows? Yeah. So I also hold space that on the one hand, it could be up to us to be like, I'm getting off the grid, like, I'll give up my comforts. I'll give up, like, having a washing machine or whatever it is that I've gotten used to. And so I'll hold space for that, while also holding space that for my idealistic, maybe these leaders do have these third eye awakenings and decide to because they do want to be superheroes. Like, I think their like inner child still, like, probably want to save the world, and so there's still time and room for that to occur. They would love it to use all that money to make a huge impact that could save humanity, and they could get all the credit, and therefore everybody wins.
Yeah, become Batman. Become Batman.
Okay. Like, so I do hold space that that's a possibility, and we won't necessarily have to go off grid and give up everything. So it could go either way.
Yeah, and that's the other thought that I also had, that so kind of like with the brain, it doesn't necessarily have to be looked at as a bad thing, right? Because we like to label things as good or bad. So think of it this way. We as humans, or our doctors of the brain, only know, 10% of the brain? And in order for us to know the 100% of the brain, a massive, massive study needs to be done. And the only way to do it is to have a lot of lab rats or a lot of guinea pigs. And look around the world. There's a lot of places around the world that are still living in horrendous conditions. So those are the places that they can end up going to first, places, and help them evolve in a way by kind of like testing the brain, watching the brain, and then help them see, again, right and wrong, what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong, and to make better choices. Like you said, level 5, 6, and 7 approach, right? So seeing things as an opportunity that you do not need to go in fights. So like there's a show that my daughter and I started watching, and I'm like, oh my god, it's really like it's horrendous. Um, so in South Africa, there is still basically, I guess here they would be called gangs. There's still gangs that are literally going and chopping each other up, especially over the weekends. The people in the hospital are spending like the doctors and nurses, they're spending a lot of time just stitching people up. And then they see some people almost every weekend, right? So things like that, like, doesn't sound very human. Like, to me, human is be hurting, not hurting others, but killing things for food, not killing for pride, or I'm this tough person, or I'm this or I'm that. Um, so kind of like going with what you said, my brain is like, I feel like there's resistance. There's a lot I want to say, but at the same time, I'm keeping it pretty simple. And this is where it's difficult to find words to express everything that I'm thinking and feeling at the same time, because there is a lot. And it's like a huge spider web of information. And that's the beauty of social media and the darkness of social media, because there's so much out there, there's so much happening, so much all over the place, and a lot of it makes sense and a lot of it doesn't make sense. But I also had this thought that, what if everything that is happening right now is happening for a reason? Because we can look at it as the devil, or we can look at it as the angel, where this is all happening because these people are realizing from level 7, like, that things need to change. And one of the best ways to do it is to cause a little bit of pain and suffering, but create a lot of good from it, and help people in all the ways that they possibly can. And that means to help them wake up and realize all that they are and the potential, and allow people to live their dream. Like, that's the thought. It's like, everybody wants to live their dream, so how can you give that to everyone and the society still benefits?
Yeah. And that's actually, those are the kinds of thoughts that give me a lot of gratitude for the roles we showed up playing. Because I remember reading something really disturbing that a police officer here said to another police officer about, I won't repeat it, but it shook me to my core. Like, the wave of fear that you're describing, about privacy, like those waves are when I know, like, okay, something's up. Like, I felt that wave watching some videos on Instagram from the attacks in Beirut, and like, but I also felt that wave just reading what this police officer said, this like chills, like full body chills, like as though I've witnessed pure evil. And like, so that's what I also know when I am in the presence of evil, whether that's receiving information or, around, like, in the physical realm. And so this time I took in information that was pure evil, which is still so hard for me to conceptualize that evil exists. As an also empath, it's hard to conceptualize, but it does. And
because again, our thoughts, we think one way, and we consciously sometimes have to shift. There's people that think a different way, a totally opposite way.
Because I see the good in everyone. I believe in my heart of hearts that everyone can achieve redemption and change and become an upstanding citizen. And So anyways, when I read this statement, and I got these full body chills, first I had an emotional, like the contraction of, you know, grief, depression, helplessness. We're all doomed. And then I felt gratitude, because then I imagined that person's soul contract, and I was like, whoa, this guy, like, his soul came into this world signing up a contract that his human was going to be evil, and so that I could be who I need to be. And it made me so grateful that these are the contracts. Like, I got to come to this earth as a light worker and shadow worker and healer. That's the soul contract I signed. And I'm so grateful, because I cannot imagine the psychology of someone who is entertaining thoughts of murder and racism and hatred. Like, that must be so exhausting to live inside that brain. But that's the role they have to play, because obviously it's necessary, because something we learn in law of being and through IPEC is that once something is no longer needed, it won't exist. So to have all these displays of evil incarnate exists for a reason, because it's pushing us to the point of speaking up, showing up. And that makes me so grateful. Like, I feel like I hit this soul contract jackpot. So that's just something I keep in mind when that fear takes hold, and that shock of like, whoa, this level of evil exists. And then that the law of being and just to IPEC training of the principle of everything has a purpose. And that brings me back home. Like, everything serves a purpose. Brings me right back home, and I can't control anything going on around me, but I can control how I derive value and purpose from what it is that I'm observing about our society, as disturbing as it is. If it disturbs me, it's like one of my favorite sayings is, you have to feel it to heal it. So if it disturbs me to my core like that, then there's some direction and guidance in there for me.
Opportunity.
Exactly.
And when you were talking about that there's a purpose for everything, the thought that came to mind was that we are lucky to be alive, because a chance of you being born and a chance of me being born is 1,000,000,000 to 1.
Yeah.
That there's like there's like a joke that someone says, well, if my mom had 1 extra glass of wine, I wouldn't have been born. Right? And that's the reality. So there is a reason why each and every one of us is here right now. There's a reason why you and I are here talking. There's a reason why whoever's watching right now is watching. There's a reason for everything. It's just each individual's job to figure out what that reason is. And it also made me think of all the millennials, of how hardcore they are, in the way of, you guys messed up our planet. You don't care much because you're going to be gone by the time the planet crashes, but we're still going to be here, and we want to live here, and we want to have our children. So they're already being born, awakened in a way, and ready to work. And like, that even gives me chills, because there's kids that are like, one of my friend's daughters, she's obsessed with like cleaning. She wants to go clean the ocean. Of course, she can't do that right now because she's only 10 years old. But she started doing all these things of recycling, picking up garbage outside, making sure everything's clean, and talking about it and sharing about it since she was, I think, 5 or 4 years old. Like, that's young. And then she asks, like, she knows things like how fast a gazelle runs. And she researches these things because she's so curious. And like her mom, she wasn't really sure like what to do, why is she like that? And we had a conversation. It's like she's here for a really big reason, purpose. And a lot of the kids that are being born or growing up, and millennials that are now in their 20s or getting to their 20s, they are like fighting for their future. And that gives me a lot of hope because they are standing up, they're fighting, and the adults hopefully are smart enough and mature enough to listen to the children and not have the mentality that children are to be seen and not heard. You know what I mean? That they're
yeah, and I do. And I think we are learning, like as millennials, we are learning so much from one another and our friends about holding space. And we're like, holy shit, like my friends held space for me. And now I feel like I can get to know myself better and express myself better. Maybe I'll try this. Maybe I'll try this with my kids. And because we didn't really have that. Like one of the six influences that impacts our energetic presentation that we learn about in IPEC is social influences. And I didn't realize until I went through IPEC training just how important that is to me, and how that's given me my help to unlock my voice, purpose. And so as millennials now, like our friends are having kids, we're having kids, and we're able to take that value of holding space that we've experienced, because we're the generation, we're really the first generation to have the luxury of caring about emotional health and mental health. And I think that our parents' generation probably missed out because their parents' generation was just so focused on survival that to even think about emotional health must seem like so foreign when they're just trying to like figure out how to put a penny together to get bread. And so now that we are here and I like, maybe sometimes I'll get frustrated because the baby boomers did have such an opportunity, and it seems kind of like they blew it. But then I think, well, maybe their purpose was to have us, to give birth to us, and that if that's the only purpose that they serve, they did their job, because now we're teaching children meditation and yoga and kindness and empathy. Like they're teaching empathy in school. And that's a huge change, and it gives me so much hope.
And I believe it's very needed because this generation, they're growing up with a lot more anxiety. Mm-hmm. And why is that? It's because if you are like that child of my friend, okay, she's anxious because at such a young age she has such big goals and aspirations and things that she wants to do and see and change. So which means that there's a lot on her to-do list, there's a lot on her agenda, whether she knows it consciously or doesn't. So it creates a lot of anxiety. Add social media on top of it, right? Because it's way too much information for the brain to even like go and scroll through it. The subconscious brain mind, it literally takes pictures of everything we've seen, whether we stop to read it or not. It's already in there.
And we feel it.
And that's where this generation, they are suffering with like a lot of anxiety and depression. And our parents and our grandparents and our parents, they still had it, but they were busy and distracted with work, like you said. Do this, do that. My grandma had 3 jobs. She had 7 children. And for me, just like the sheer thought of that, how did they do it? Mind you, she passed away when she was 54, which is still young. But that's the other part of it. It's because never actually learned exactly who she was. She was a healer. Like she healed with her hands. So yeah, she was really good with that. I used to twist my stomach all the time, and she'd be like, "Oh, okay, this is what it is," and she would fix it for me. Like she was an incredible woman. Like honestly. Yeah. So, but that generation, they were so busy, and still after the war as well, right? So there's still a lot of recovery, a lot of healing, a lot of putting things together and figuring things out. But at the same time, go forward and not actually dealing with anything, which also taught their kids to do the same thing. And then they start to wake up a little bit because there's a little bit more free time and space for them to do things. And then more generations up with more time and space for them to do things. And now there's a lot more of free time and space because people are recognizing like there's a lot of kids that might not be going into college and universities because there's different ways to learn. So there's a lot of changes that had happened that if like they seem very small, but they're big because our generation, like you and I was 16 when I had my first cell phone. The internet was still like so the first time I got introduced to the internet, which was a black screen with like neon green on it, which was in Russia, and I was about 10 years old. And the only games that were on there is like that little almost looks like a board and the ping pong bouncing off. That was the only game that I played.
I would still play that if that was available today.
But now the kids are like, they get to play games, all kinds of games, and so many choices, so many options. You get to communicate with people all around the world playing games. Like,
Yeah, I think that technology has accelerated and completely outpaced our evolution of mind and consciousness,
yeah,
and I don't think that previous generations had any idea. Like maybe they weren't paying attention and didn't think what's gonna happen when the internet lands here and what's gonna happen when we have this at our fingertips. What kind of information are we gonna be taking in? So anxiety and overwhelm is so understandable when I think about how much information we're taking in. Like every day there's tragedy that we can expose ourselves to every single day, whether it has to do with the virus or shootings or bombings or starvation in Yemen and whatever it is, or the oceans or the fires in the Amazon, or we have access to so much injustice and tragedy that it can cause serious overwhelm and anxiety. And previous
yes.
generations just did not have that kind of access.
Well, I believe that every human being has a hero syndrome where we want to help others. We want to fix things for people. We do not like to see people suffering. So when we are exposed to so much pain and suffering all around the world, it can cripple some of us mentally.
We care so much, and we haven't been taught how to withdraw from the chaos. Like one of the reasons I think meditation and vulnerability are going to save the world is because it gives us a chance to withdraw from the chaos and check in with ourselves. And if we don't do that, then we're just perpetuating the chaos, because then we'll just take it in and spit it back out. And
Yeah.
we weren't really taught until now to withdraw, take a step back, remember who we are, organize. Like nature reorganizes itself, and we are nature. We are
Yeah.
no different from a tree or the soil. And if we withdraw from the chaos of the world, we have a chance to reorganize and then achieve clarity and check within and ask ourselves, what's my action here? What do I want to do about it? Because action will always make us feel better when we feel overwhelmed and anxious.
Yeah.
Because when we're bombarded with that much injustice, we can feel helpless to make a difference because it seems like so much. And then when we withdraw and we recenter, reorganize, we have a chance to perceive the things that are working. And like level 5, like what's the opportunity here? And the anabolic leader focuses on what's working, what's right, instead of focusing on what's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So we get to look at what's right. And like we're saying, children being born now, already ascended, children learning meditation in schools instead of detention, things like that are happening. And so that just like faith and hope that comes from us drawing from the chaos is so important to keep us moving and
Yeah.
kind of oriented and connected. And that was something that I don't think that previous generations really thought about, like, oh, with this accelerated technology and complexity that we're going to be facing, we need to teach our kids how to withdraw from the chaos, because they never were able to do that. And actually, as you were talking, my heart expanded even more in terms of compassion for the baby boomers, because as you're talking about war and our grandparents coming back from war, it's so different from baby boomers who are being drafted for at least here, the Vietnam War, a war that they didn't believe in, and the message from their parents. Like, I remember hearing about this from my mom, where her brother was fighting with her dad, being like, I don't want to go to war, and he was like, we all have to go to war, like. So that was that mindset. So the baby boomers didn't really have a chance to do the shadow work that comes from having gone to Vietnam and fighting a war that they didn't believe in.
Yeah.
And that gives me a lot of compassion, because if they didn't do that shadow work, then they're not going to understand when we're challenging them and saying, this is either whatever war it is or whatever injustice it is, holding in their faces and being like, this is what we care about now. And I understand why it could be such a trigger, because internally they might experience that, like, well, we didn't do enough when we had a chance, and they are facing their own mortality, and there's probably so much going on that they didn't face. And also, it gives me compassion for them, because when I'm holding up mirrors and setting boundaries with my own family, sometimes I forget that that's holding up a light, shining a light on where they never set boundaries with their parents and never advocated for their authenticity and their mission, and that could be very difficult. But then they also, to do that, you also got to see where your parents impacted you to deviate from your authentic path, which is painful.
Yeah. And none of them really, even we now as parents, don't always know the right path. We're
there's no way of knowing.
Yeah, and they did the best they could, the best the way they knew how, and we're doing the same thing. And I know a lot of parents, including myself, beat themselves up and say, I'm not good enough, I'm not a good mom, not a good dad, I should be doing better, I should be doing more. But that right there is a huge indicator of how awesome of a parent you are.
I was just saying the same thing. Like, that's even new. Like, it's brand new to even think about. Like, here's where, to me, it seems like a completely different mindset than our parents. Like, you're admitting you don't know. I think previous generations, because comparison was so huge and keeping up with the Joneses kind of mindset was so huge, that parents pretended like they knew everything about everything.
Yeah.
And knew about raising their kids, and like trying to be perfect, like a perfect family was so big.
Yeah, it's kind of like a boss mentality in a way, right? Because the boss would pretend that they know everything and they know the best way without actually admitting, I don't know everything.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's new. Like, I hear more and more millennial parents being like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, like Emmy on one of the coven calls, she was talking about her pregnancy and puking all the time. She's like, I hate my baby. And we're all like, yup, and I don't think that's anything that anyone previously, like, I don't think moms would admit that in the past, but it's so important to admit, like, of course you hate your baby, it's making you puke every day.
Yeah, and I think the biggest reason why is because you needed to you needed to be seen as this big, tough parent person that can do anything and can have anything and nothing rattles your cage and you're just perfect. It was the image that you had to uphold. And whereas now we're recognizing that vulnerability is huge. And that is how we all connect. We do not connect with the toughness,
No.
with fake toughness for the most part. We don't connect with that. We can't necessarily relate to it, but what we can relate is our weaknesses,
Yeah.
our vulnerabilities, which is pretty much kind of the same. And we can connect through being authentic, being who we truly are, and not putting up a fake front and not faking it until we're making it. Because I think the mentality as well is I'm going to fake being the best parent there is, and I'll make and I'll be the best parent that there is.
And it leaves little room for any kind of help, real help that we might need.
Yeah.
Like if one of our friends expresses a vulnerability, she'll have 10 sisters showing up being like, well, where do you need us? How can we help? But if Emmy was pretending that she's perfect and everything's perfect, we would have no chance, no opportunity to offer, because humans love being of service. Like, we actually love being helpful. It makes us feel good.
Mhm.
And we have no idea how to be helpful to our fellow humans if we're not being vulnerable enough to express where there might be a lack in any certain area.
Yeah.
Like a lack of safety, lack of health, like whatever it is that we're dealing with. Like if I'm dealing with some troubles in my psyche, then I have the opportunity to share it with you. I have the opportunity to share it with the girls on the coven calls, and we work through it. And I think that that's relatively new. I don't think that groups of friends like our parents' generations would do that. I don't think they would admit, yo, I'm like having these thoughts that are just replaying in a loop, telling me that I'm worthless and shameful and should be embarrassed by myself. And I don't think that previous generations really even had the awareness that our thoughts do that.
Well, that's because they didn't want to seem weak in the eyes of anyone. They wanted to seem very strong. And I mean, we're still that way. All human beings are that way. And that's why exposing ourselves and exposing our weaknesses and speaking truthfully is still very difficult for most of the population.
Yeah.
But that is where healing happens. Like you said earlier, that it's like need to be aware of something. Can't remember exactly what you said. Need to be aware of it and then feel it and understand it and then work through it. That in order for us to overcome anything, we need to put it out there and share it, not just with ourselves, but maybe with somebody else, like with a person that can understand you and take that in and allow and give space, right? Because that space is very important for both people, for all people to really listen, just listen and take it in without having to want to fix the person and give them a whole bunch of advice. Because most people, they don't want to hear advice. They don't want to hear solutions. They already have them. They just need you to give them space to speak and be heard and felt, and then they will find solutions on their own. It's just a matter of releasing energy. That's what it is, right? Because that energy is trapped, and if we're holding on to it and carrying it like the baby boomers did, and parents after then, they're holding it in, trapping it in there, and it doesn't escape. They continue to carry it and carry it and carry it, and no wonder some of them have a heart attack at 54, like my grandma, where she took a lot of things, even by healing people, without actually releasing it all.
That's actually one of my favorite ways to operate in person with people. Like at the last retreat we did in Maine, I was like, I was like, oh, I think this is what it really means to be a medicine woman, because I had cacao, cannabis, and rapé with me, and I found that the one-on-ones, like we had our group events, and then all these one-on-ones were occurring with the plant medicine as the connection, like the connector. Like someone would be like, let's go sit here, and she, like one friend was like, let's smoke a joint over here. And we're sitting there smoking a joint, and she just started releasing and releasing and releasing. And I didn't say a word. I just sat there and listened, and I just being an unconditionally loving presence. And then she was done. I really didn't have to say anything, and that kept happening. Like someone would ask, like, "Oh, can I try the rapé?" And I would just sit there completely still. While and rapé, like, it results in a release. Like there's no way around it. And I would just sit there completely still while someone was releasing, and I was like, this is all I really want to do, is just be and be an expanded presence, so that dense contracted energies have room to expand. And so to understand that on a metaphysical and like quantum physical realm, and like bring it into action in the physical realm is so amazing, because I could watch it. I could watch someone like, and it looks emotional at first, like it looks uncomfortable and emotional for the other person. But as long as we're sitting there, still present and loving, they know that there's no judgment, and they're just being witnessed. And sometimes that unconditionally loving witness is all we need to feel that our existence matters. And when we feel that our existence matters and we're worth existing, then we can really start doing some serious healing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like my favorite role, is just being present, and not even saying anything.
Yeah.
Not even saying anything unless they ask, unless they want coaching, in which case I'll ask challenging questions. But if they don't ask for that specifically, then just being is enough.
Yeah. Because it helps them to just release that stagnant energy that they might have been carrying for years.
And if we think about it, like previously, my level 4 energy, for anyone who's listening and doesn't know what that is concern for others, and the core thought is concern, and then therefore the core feeling or emotions, compassion, and then the result is service, being in service. Sometimes my level 4 energy would cause attachment to someone else's journey, and I would go into fixer mode, helper mode, trying to fix, trying to solve their problems for them. And I realized that was more about myself. That was more about me feeling like I was productive and helpful and valuable. And when I detach from that and actually consider, what does this person actually need, it's usually not for me to fix anything for them or to solve anything for them. It's for me to love them while they uncover their own journey and own solutions.
Yeah. Yeah. That space is so important. And our kids need that space as well.
Yeah.
Especially when they are experiencing some turbulence, when they're not feeling so happy, so joyful, they need the parent to just listen and want to fix them and not tell them that, don't cry, you don't need to cry.
Oh, another
they need to.
I am so grateful for your presence as the mother. Like, even hearing you say that's healing my own inner child. Like, the number of times my inner child was told, don't be upset, and I'd be like, but I am. Like, how can I not be when I am? I don't and just not feeling seen or heard, just being told, don't be upset, calm down, there's nothing wrong.
And you're never taught.
Yeah.
It's like
something wrong.
When the kids are being told at school, focus. Well, why don't you teach them create a class on what focus is and help them learn how to focus. You can't tell them to do something when they do not even understand it or have any kind of tools that will help them to focus.
We as adults don't even know how to focus. Why don't we take our own advice? We're telling kids to focus. Why don't we lead by example? Because
Yes.
I don't see many focused adults.
And I like how you said lead by example, because that's really what parenthood is all about. Perfect example, kids don't want to brush teeth in the evening. Okay? Instead of you saying, brush your teeth, brush your teeth, brush your teeth, pick up your own damn toothbrush, put toothpaste on it, and show them. Lead by example and brush teeth together as a family.
Right. It could be a party, toothbrush party. Like, who wants to brush their teeth? Like, bring some anabolic energy to it instead of just, and that's actually part of it. Project sharing is part of an anabolic leader. So if brushing the teeth is the project, then let's all grab our toothbrushes and brush our teeth.
And that same concept can be applied to anything else with kids.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell them, show them. Don't
Part.
tell me, show me.
I love it. Oh, I love it.
For our partners, for our friends, for everyone. Don't tell them, show them.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell your partner that he needs to change. Show them how you have changed, and then they will choose to change themselves or not, and they will change if they choose to in their own way and not the way you tell them of how you want them to change.
I recently saw something, I can't remember exactly, but it was like about setting boundaries, and it was like, it doesn't have to be like an angry boundary, anyone who crosses like being electrocuted. It could be a loving boundary that's saying, I will be treated sacredly. And so when we show up with a partner with that mindset, I am treated sacredly. Either the partner picks up on that and treats us sacredly or not, and then it's up to us to determine, is this person going to eventually understand, or am I gonna just vibrate on out of their frequency and let them figure it out on their own. But we do have, instead of saying you need to treat me like I'm sacred, we just know internally, I am treated sacredly. I deserve to be treated sacredly. And then we take that energy and command that with our presence alone.
Yeah, nobody likes being told what to do or what not to do. Nobody likes to feel like somebody else is trying to control them by trying to tell them what to do and how to do it.
No, nobody likes it.
But everybody likes to watch and observe. That's our human nature. That's why there's TV as well. We're watching and observing humans playing a role or living in the role. Depends whether it's a reality show or a movie, right? But we're still observing, we're still learning. So really, it comes down to show and don't tell me.
Show, be, presence, lead by. It's all really, it just keeps coming back to leading by example.
Yeah.
And that requires getting really clear on who we are and how we want to show up in this world.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's a good place to break.
Yeah, I just looked at the time like, oh my God. 25 past. Well, this is a perfect place to wrap up, and thank you for another incredible session, chat, podcast, whatever we want to call it. Yeah, it's just talking about one thing, kind of like moving around and.
Yeah, I really appreciate how we're able to bring up like really intense subjects, like the first one that came to mind, conspiracy theories, and just navigate our way around it without going too deep into the specifics, and just saying, focus on the values, what's important here.
Yeah, because there's a lot of conspiracy theories, and we're not here to get into them. We're not here to preach them. We're not here to share what our beliefs are at this point in time. We can't talk about the future because we don't know what's going to happen. But it's really just to raise awareness that they are out there, and for everyone to just be open.
And we're really here to give everyone permission to hear the intuitive, either this doesn't add up or oh this seems like this checks out, I'm gonna explore more. So it's really the intuition knows, and often it's what we're resisting the most that we're actually called to look into deeper. That's what I just realized, is like I was avoiding looking into something, and then I looked into it and I was like, this is why I was avoiding it, because it all checks out, it all adds up. But I mean, it's tough, and to be at the leading edge of thought and be the pioneers of change, we're gonna have to be faced with a lot of truth and a truth uncovering that might be difficult. But we can always go back to the intuition and that detachment of it's not good or bad, it just is. It's happening for a reason. So what is our role here?
Yeah. And cages are going to get rattled.
Like a lot of cages, like shit's going down.
Yeah.
We could talk about that later, but shit is going down.
Very fast. And yeah. I'm curious to hear about.
Yeah, we can have our own conversation.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, well, this was awesome as always. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so
And
much.
thank you to all the viewers as well. And we'll see all of you, and I'll see you next week.
Next week. Looking forward to it.
Me too. Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.